I never thought my life would change in a single phone call. I was sitting alone in my quiet house when everything shattered. They told me my son was gone and the world stopped breathing. A parent is never ready to hear words like that. My heart broke in a way I cannot explain. The days after felt like walking through fog. Nothing felt real, not the air, not the light, not my own hands. I kept thinking about his laugh, his voice, his dreams. I thought grief was the hardest thing I would ever face. I was wrong. Weeks later, another shock entered my life. I was told my son left behind a fortune. $24 million hidden in accounts I never knew existed. The number felt unreal, like a mistake. Money meant nothing compared to losing him. But that money brought something dark with it. People started calling people I had not heard from in years. Whispers began, questions followed. Then her name appeared. His ex-partner. Someone I thought was long gone from our lives. She wanted to talk, she said it was important. My hands shook when I heard her voice. Old memories rushed back, painful and confusing. She spoke calmly, but her words cut deep. She mentioned the inheritance. She said she deserved a share. In that moment, grief turned into disbelief. I was still mourning my child. Yet I was being pulled into a battle I never asked for. I could not understand how loss turned into greed so fast. My nights became sleepless, filled with fear and anger. I felt alone, even in a crowded room. I kept asking myself why this was happening now. Why could I not just grieve in peace? This was only the beginning of a storm. A storm that would test my strength, my values, my heart. And force me to stand up when I felt weakest. What came next would change everything. After that call, my home no longer felt safe. Every corner carried weight and tension. I sat in silence, thinking about my son and his choices. I wondered how much of his life I never truly knew. The money felt like a shadow following me everywhere. I did not celebrate it, I feared it. Grief mixed with confusion until I could not separate them. I remembered the day he introduced me to her. They looked happy, hopeful, full of plans. I welcomed her into my home like family. Back then I never imagined this ending. As time passed, their relationship changed. Arguments became common, silence grew heavy. Eventually they broke apart quietly, painfully. When he moved on, I believed she did too. That is why her demand shocked me deeply. She spoke as if the money belonged to her. As if my son's life was a transaction. I replayed her words again and again. Each time they hurt more. I began questioning my own judgment. Was I missing something? Was she right? I reached out to lawyers, searching for clarity. Every meeting drained me emotionally. Legal terms felt cold compared to my pain. They spoke of rights, documents, timelines. I thought of my son's smile, not contracts. The process felt slow and cruel. Each letter felt like reopening a wound. Friends advised me to settle and move on. But how could I give away something tied to my son? This was not just money to me. It was the last thing he left behind. Something he trusted me with. Standing my ground felt lonely but necessary. I cried more during this time than ever before. Yet something inside me hardened. I realized grief did not mean weakness. I could mourn and still protect myself. This battle was forced upon me. And I knew it was far from over. Days started blending into each other without meaning. Morning felt heavy, night felt endless. I woke up with my son's name in my chest. Every decision felt like betrayal to my grief. I kept asking myself what he would want. Did he imagine this chaos after his passing? I searched through old photos, messages, memories, trying to find answers hidden in his past. His ex-partner presence grew stronger. She called, emailed, sent messages through others. Each contact felt like pressure on an open wound. She spoke of love, sacrifice, shared history. But I remembered the pain she caused him. I remembered the nights he came home silent. The dreams he said no longer felt safe. That history mattered to me deeply. I felt anger rising, but I held it back. I did not want bitterness to define me. I wanted truth and fairness, nothing more. Lawyers continued explaining possible outcomes. Some said she had no claim, others warned of delays. Uncertainty became my constant companion. I felt like I was fighting two battles at once. One against grief, another against greed. My health suffered, my sleep vanished. Yet every time I thought of giving up, I saw my son as a child holding my hand. That memory gave me strength. I promised him silently I would not fail him. This was about dignity, not dollars. About protecting what he built in his life. I stopped answering her calls. I focused on preparing myself mentally. I learned to breathe through the anxiety. I reminded myself I was not wrong. Standing firm was not cruelty. It was respect for my son's legacy. The storm outside was loud, but inside I was beginning to stand tall. The pressure did not fade, it only changed shape. What started as requests slowly became demands. Her tone shifted from polite to entitled. She spoke as if time itself was on her side. Letters arrived filled with strong words. Each one felt heavier than the last. I felt my chest tighten every time the phone rang. I stopped trusting quiet moments. Even silence felt threatening. People around me began choosing sides. Some urged compassion, others urged resistance. Everyone had an opinion, none had my pain. I felt judged for protecting myself. As if grief should make me generous, not cautious. I questioned the world we live in, where loss becomes opportunity for others. I spent long nights staring at the ceiling, thinking about fairness and boundaries, thinking about how love turns into leverage. I met with another advisor seeking peace of mind. He listened quietly, then looked at me firmly. He said, "You have every right to stand strong." Those words lifted something heavy inside me. For the first time, I felt validated. I was not being selfish, I was being careful. I began documenting everything. Every message, every demand, every memory. Preparing not. As the weeks stretched on, I felt myself changing in quiet ways. The sadness never left, but strength slowly took its place. I learned how to sit with pain without letting it break me. Every morning I reminded myself why I was standing firm. This was not about winning or losing. This was about honoring my son and the life he lived. I began to understand how money reveals true character. Some people came closer offering real support. Others disappeared when they realized there was nothing to gain. Her messages became more aggressive, more desperate. She spoke of future plans she believed were stolen from her. She spoke as if my son's death created a debt. Each word felt heavy, but I no longer felt afraid. I saw clearly now what this was really about. It was not love or loss, it was control. I started writing letters to my son in private, telling him everything I could not say out loud. Those letters became my refuge. They reminded me who I was before all this chaos. I remembered raising him, teaching him right from wrong, teaching him that actions have consequences. That lesson guided me now more than ever. I chose silence where I once chose explanation. I chose boundaries where I once chose kindness. Not because I became cold, but because I became aware. Aware that protecting myself was necessary. Aware that grief does not mean surrender. The legal process moved slowly but steadily. Each step forward felt like reclaiming my breath. I no longer felt like a victim of circumstances. I felt like a parent finishing one last duty, standing guard over my son's legacy. No matter how long it took, no matter how heavy it felt, I knew deep inside I was doing the right thing. Time has a strange way of reshaping pain. What once felt unbearable slowly became manageable. I started finding moments of calm between waves of stress. I learned how to breathe again, how to think clearly. The noise around the inheritance grew louder online and offline. Rumors spread, stories twisted, facts disappeared. People who never knew my son spoke confidently about his life. That hurt more than I expected. They did not know his kindness, his struggles, his quiet strength. I refused to let outsiders define his story. Her legal push reached a critical stage. Documents were exchanged, meetings intensified. Each interaction tested my patience and resolve. Still I stayed grounded, reminding myself of my purpose. I was not fighting her, I was protecting him. Some days grief hit me without warning. A song, a smell, a random memory would undo me. But even then I stood my ground. I allowed myself to cry without guilt. Strength does not mean silence. It means continuing despite the pain. I noticed a shift in her approach. Confidence turned into frustration. Demands softened into negotiations. For the first time I sensed doubt in her words. That moment changed everything for me. I realized standing firm was working. Not through anger, not through threats, but through consistency and truth. I leaned into that realization. Trusting the process, trusting myself. This journey was teaching me resilience. A kind I never asked to learn, yet one I would carry forever. As everything moved closer to a decision, I felt a deep quiet settle inside me, a quiet I had not felt since before my son's passing. The constant fear slowly loosened its grip, and I could finally think without my chest tightening. Every second I understood now that this fight had changed me, not in a hard way, but in a grounded way. I was no longer reacting to her words or her pressure. I was responding from a place of certainty. I knew my truth and I trusted it completely. The meetings became calmer. Because I was calm, I listened more, spoke less, and let facts stand on their own. I stopped explaining my grief to people who could never understand it. I stopped justifying my choices to anyone outside my own conscience. Memories of my son no longer only brought pain, they brought guidance. I remembered how he faced challenges head on, how he valued fairness, how he hated manipulation. Those memories shaped every decision I made. The closer we got to resolution, the clearer it became that her claims were built on emotion, not law, and emotion alone could not rewrite reality. I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. Sadness that it ever came to this, and relief that I did not break under the weight of it all. I realized that standing your ground does not always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looks like patient silence and unwavering resolve. This chapter of my life was never about money alone. It was about learning how to protect your heart, while honoring the people you love even after they are gone. The final stage arrived quietly, without the drama I once imagined. There were no raised voices, no emotional speeches, just a heavy stillness as everything settled into place. By then, I had already made peace with every possible outcome. I knew I had done everything with honesty and respect. The truth stood firm without needing to be defended again, and again her position weakened as clarity took over, and what once felt like an unstoppable threat slowly dissolved. I felt a deep release, not happiness, not victory, but closure, a sense that this chapter was finally ending. I thought of my son in that moment, not in pain, but in pride, as if he knew I had carried myself with dignity through something unfair and exhausting. The weight I had been carrying for months began to lift. My days started to feel lighter, my nights became quieter, and for the first time since his passing, I felt like I could move forward without guilt. I understood then that money had never been the burden. The conflict was, and once the conflict ended, space opened up for healing. I did not celebrate the outcome, I honored it. I honored the lesson that grief can coexist with strength, and that protecting what matters does not require anger, only clarity and courage. After everything settled, life did not return to what it was before, but it found a new shape, one that felt quieter, slower, more intentional. I stopped measuring my days by stress and started measuring them by peace. I spent time reflecting on how easily tragedy exposes the true nature of people and situations. I learned that boundaries are not walls, they are acts of self-respect. I no longer felt the need to explain my decisions because I finally trusted them fully. My son's absence was still there in every corner of my life, but it no longer felt like a wound that kept reopening. It felt like a presence guiding me forward. I chose to use what he left behind responsibly, thoughtfully, not as a symbol of wealth, but as a continuation of his story. I focused on healing, on rebuilding, on finding purpose beyond loss. I understood that standing firm had given me more than protection, it had given me confidence in myself again. I realized that strength is often born in silence, and resilience grows when you refused to be pushed into fear. This journey changed how I see family, loyalty, and justice. It taught me that love does not end with death, it transforms into responsibility, memory, and courage. The final chapter of this journey brought a sense of calm I had not felt in months. As the legal matters concluded and her claims faded into the background, I felt a quiet victory, not of money but of spirit and resolve. I reflected on how much this experience had reshaped me, how grief had forced me to confront not only loss but also integrity, patience, and courage. I spent long evenings thinking about my son, remembering the moments that defined him, the laughter, the dreams, the small acts of kindness that never made headlines but defined his character. I realized that protecting his legacy was about more than finances, it was about honoring the person he was and the love he gave freely. I looked around my home, no longer feeling the weight of tension in the corners. The phone calls no longer made my heart race, and every interaction with others felt lighter, because I was no longer defensive. I had learned to set boundaries with kindness, firmness, and clarity. I understood that life would never be the same, and I did not want it to be the same. I wanted it to be wiser, fuller, more aware of what truly matters. I had faced betrayal, grief, fear, and uncertainty, and emerged not unscathed, but unbroken, stronger, calmer, and more certain about what I valued most in the world. I realized that inheritance is not only about wealth, it is about responsibility, love, memory, and the courage to stand up for what is right even when it hurts most. Standing firm had taught me resilience that would carry me for the rest of my life, and as I looked at the horizon, I felt ready to continue living, honoring my son every step of the way with dignity, strength, and unshakable love.